Since I read this, I've been very eager to talk to you about it because I hadn't noticed this. I hadn't noticed what has happened to the word freedom and its meaning and how it changes, whether it's used by Joe Biden, as we saw it there, and Republican officials now. Describe what you see here as the opportunity for President Biden.
Well, Lawrence, you and I are both language people, and in politics is about policies and it's about ideas and it's about stupid fights. But at some deep level, it's about language. It's about leaders offering different options to people in the form of language and people choosing which of those languages resonates with where they are. And I, as a language person, pay a lot of attention to what the shifting language is. And one thing I noticed, two things I noticed, I would say. First of all, in my entire lifetime, the Republican Party has gone very long on the language of freedom. And Ronald Reagan in particular, I think, started that phenomenon of freedom, freedom, freedom. When in doubt, if you don't know what to say freedom. Everything is kind of laundered through a frame of freedom. Fomenting tyranny in Latin America is called freedom. Busting unions is called freedom. But the Republicans did a very smart, tactical job of rebranding every single striving of theirs, including things that made people's lives harder, more precarious, and less free, as freedom. And I think in many ways, the political left, Democrats in particular, over the last generation, kind of passively accepted this as, okay, this is the reality. You're the freedom people, so we'll do justice, we'll do solidarity, we'll do equality, we'll do the future, we'll do hope, we'll do stronger together. We have all these other frames, but we'll kind of leave you this freedom territory. I think this is a catastrophic mistake, as I write about in The Ink. And what is so interesting is that before Joe Biden came along and made that ad, Donald Trump is the bridge where freedom kind of flew off into the water, because in his American Carnage inaugural speech, interestingly, he mentioned it one time in a kind of boilerplate thing. But more importantly, under the Trump kind of view of the world, freedom is not a particularly important animating value. And what I write about in The Ink is that the Reaganite idea of freedom was, you are powerful as individuals. You have bubbling, fizzing potential as Americans. And if we could just let you alone, you would be free and thrive. By the time we move from the libertarian Republican Party to the authoritarian one of today, the pitch has changed. The view of human nature has changed. The view now is you are weak and vulnerable and can't do anything on your own because these powerful forces are out to get you. And only I, Donald Trump, only I, Ron DeSantis, can protect you. And so the right is not really about strong, powerful individuals needing to be set free anymore. And this creates space for Joe Biden, for the Democrats, for the left in general, to enter that terrain of freedom that they wrongfully deserted. And make, as your last guest was talking about, make abortion, as it is, a referendum on the freedom over one's body. Make, the fights over spending right now, would you have the freedom to thrive with a modern safety net? Do you have the freedom to get the education you need? Do you have the freedom to be able to have support when life knocks you down? This question of freedom is now front and center back in American politics. And Joe Biden has done a very smart thing by ending this silly concession of freedom to the right and stepping in to claim it.
I think in the audience, minds are racing, as mine are, with applying this concept to our politics now. For example, the freedom to read when you're going to high school in Florida. All of these things, it's just everywhere in these political dynamics.
It's everywhere, and it's not made up. I mean, I got to say, you and I are both having this conversation because we had the freedom to read growing up. I don't think I would be capable of having this conversation with you if I had not had the freedom to read. I have traveled to many countries, as I'm sure you have, where people did not have the same freedom to read that I did. And I'm very aware that I'm able to have this conversation with you because I did have that freedom. So yeah, that's a pretty important freedom. You talk about the freedom to, have reproductive rights and reproductive justice. I mean, that's It's about control over your body, and it's also about the freedom to, frankly, like, go out on a Friday night and not be afraid you are making a lifelong decision if you meet someone at the bar. You know, Amanda Marcotte wrote this great piece a few months ago about the Democratic Party and strategy, saying, look, if we as Democrats cannot make the case to people that we are the party trying to, you know, have you curl up, have the freedom to curl up with a good book and get laid without fear, we don't deserve to win. And I think, you know, to be very serious about it, all of these fights are fights for freedom. And often they are reframed in these like wonky policy terms by folks on the left. And we have to go guttural, and we have to remember people don't understand what Medicare for all means, except people who really focus on this issue, but they know what it means to be free. They know what it means to be free from their boss deciding what kind of health care they have. And so speaking to people in that kind of physiological language of freedom is incredibly important.